Hey, beautiful. Welcome to another episode of the Focused and Fearless podcast. I am your host, Heather Angel. And if you tuned into last week's episode, you know that we had a conversation around goal setting and how so much of what we hear about goal setting is focusing on the external. It's focusing on the things we should be doing rather than who we should be being. Should be being? Is that English? Who we are being to achieve our goals. And it's so important to clarify that distinction on the person you're being now and the results that you've got, and the person you need to become to achieve the results you want. Absolutely critical. So that's what we had a discussion about last week. And thank you. I do want to say a huge thank you for the very kind people that reached out and gave me kind feedback on last week's episode, because I was not very well. I had committed to releasing my podcast on the 4th of November, and I was going to do it come hell or high water. So it was released even though I couldn't really breathe properly or string a sentence together. So thank you very much for those that reached out with your kind feedback. Now today, I want to continue that conversation a little bit deeper into goal setting, because here's the thing. Over the last week, I have been speaking to a few of my Focused and Fearless members and a few new clients actually that I'm going to be working with in 2020. And many of my audience are mums. I don't work with just mums. They gravitate to me. I am a mum, so I can empathize with a lot of their struggles. And something they've been saying is, okay, Heather, that's great. When I have more time, I'll be able to do that. When I have more time, my business will be more successful. When the kids go to school, I'll have more time, so I'll be able to make more money. I am really sorry to say that is not going to happen. Time is not the reason, lack of time is not the reason you are struggling to create a successful and profitable business. It's just not. And if you don't believe me, look at people like my mentor, James Wedmore. He preaches what does he preach? He preaches oh, sorry guys, like, you can tell this isn't edited, right? This is just real conversation, you and me. So he preaches the less he does, the more he makes. Okay, so the less we do, the more we make. And I've been learning from James for over a year now. And, you know, the guy's a genius. So when he says something, we listen. And you've got other examples as well. Tim Ferriss, Michael Hyatt. They're all coming out saying, actually, you don't need to work hard. You don't need to do long hours. Now, the whole work hard thing, I have my own opinions on that, but that's for another episode. But I do know from my own experience that more time does not equal more success. It sure as hell doesn't equal more profit and more money in your business. So this is what we need to speak about today, because when you are looking at setting your goals and looking ahead to 2020, or whenever you're listening to this, you know, I don't want you to be holding yourself back and saying, oh, well, you know, I can't do that in Q1. I'll have to wait until then because then I'll have more time and then I'll be able to achieve this success. Or put your life on hold because of the belief that you just don't have enough time. It's not the case. The reason, and I'll share a little bit about my background and how I know this, but the reason I have created more success in 2019 than any other year, the reason that James Wedmore, Michael Hyatt, and Tim Ferriss are preaching that you can achieve more by doing less is because they have one thing in common. We have laser focus. That is the difference. It's not more time. Okay. And I'm just going to say this as a caveat for all those mums that are like, yeah, but you know, James and Tim and Michael, they're not, you know, changing nappies and looking after kids while they're trying to set up a business. No, they're not. And I hear you. And when childless people talk to me about productivity, I'm just like, no. Until you have children and a family, or you have caring responsibilities, and then you're trying to set up a business, then you can talk to me about productivity. So I hear you. Bear with me. I have 2 children and I know from my own experience that once they went to school, I did this little happy dance, like, yes, amazing, I'm going to have all this time. It didn't automatically result in any better results, because time was not what I needed. What I needed was focus. I needed to know what my priority was, and I needed to work on what matters. And this is something I see so many people struggling with. And, you know, I was struggling with it. I really struggled with it for so long, working so hard, doing all the hours and not seeing the results. It was, oh my gosh, so frustrating. I found it frustrating. I found a way through, and I'm going to share with you one of the simple things I do every single week to make sure I have laser focus and make sure I do what really matters. I'm going to share that with you, so don't worry. But I see this happen all the time, people working so hard, because quite often they've gone from employment to having their own business. And the employment model is go in, do your set hours and work hard. Like, and then you get money. Like, that's how it works. You show up, you get paid. But when you run your own business, it's very easy to still continue that pattern and just think that if you work harder and longer hours, then the money will come, the success will follow. And sadly, that just is not the case. So like I said, we will have another conversation about the whole working hard thing. Yeah, that's for another podcast. But in terms of time, let's talk about that. I want to share with you a 5-step process that I have been using for years in my own business. I share it with my clients, and it's something I do every single Sunday before I start my working week. My working week is like, well, I kind of work Monday to Thursday. Friday is my admin fun day. But on a Sunday, I like to know what I'm going to be working on the week ahead. So this is not something to be done when you start your week. That's a crazy waste of time, okay? When you start your week, you should be going into your office or opening up that laptop crystal clear on what you're going to be working on, so you can take inspired action straight away. Not kind of thinking, oh, okay, what should I work on today? So let's go into the 5-step process. If you have a pen and paper, go for it, and you can write all this down. But if you're listening to this on the go, which I know most people do with podcasts, there is a link in the show notes, and you can download the PDF, which has these 5 steps all explained on there. So step 1, so you're on a Sunday evening or a Friday afternoon. I don't care when you do this, just do it before you start your working week. I want you to do a huge brain dump, okay? I want you to unload all of those to-dos and thoughts and, oh my gosh, I've got to remember to do this, out of your brain onto paper. Now, look, I believe it's really important to do this with pen and paper, but if you want to put it on your Evernote app, or you've got a note-taking app, that's absolutely fine. Or if you want to just type it out, that's fine, you know, whatever works for you. But I find writing it down really therapeutic. So A4 piece of paper, just write down in no particular order everything that comes to mind, personal and business. Okay, so if you're like, oh my gosh, I must remember to pick up the kid's prescription, or I've got to book the dog into the vet, but I've also got to remember to do my lead magnet, follow up those sales conversations, whatever it might be, dump it down on that piece of paper. Step 2, I want you to segment. Super simple. Get yourself 2 different color pens. I love stationery, by the way. Anything that involves highlighters or colored pens makes me very happy. So grab your 2 different color pens. In one color, I want you to circle all the personal tasks, and then the other color, circle all the business tasks. Nice and simple. So now you can very clearly see all the business tasks that you have got to do. Now, the next steps you can then do on your personal tasks as well, but we are talking just business for this episode, okay? So once you've segmented all your tasks, the 3rd step is to prioritize. Now, hashtag real talk. This is by far the hardest bit, okay? This takes practice. If you are someone that gets to the end of the week and you're like, oh my gosh, I've worked so hard, but I actually have no idea what I've achieved, this is going to take longer for you than someone that's listening to this going, yep, I know I'm going to work on these 3 things this week and I'm going to absolutely smash it out the park, okay? Because prioritizing is key, but it's not the simplest thing to do, because especially when you're starting a business, if you're just starting out, everything can feel like a priority because you don't know what you don't know. So everything can feel like a priority. What I want you to do is ask yourself, when you're looking at all these business tasks that you've got circled on your piece of paper, what matters? What is going to move your business forward? Now, that question relates to different things depending on where you are in your business. If, and I know this is going to be a few of you, but if you're, looking at your business, you're like, wow, I really have not made enough money this month. Like, it's getting a little bit tight. Your priority is to go and help someone and get some money in. Go and serve a client. Go and create opportunity. Okay? So that would be what would matter for you. That would be what would be moving your business forward, bringing in some new clients, bringing in some new cash injection. Okay, but otherwise it might be, maybe your priority is planning out your launch. Whatever that might be, whatever is going to move your business forward. Okay, not the dilly-dallying, what my mentor says, the $10 an hour tasks. Okay, this is real stuff that only you can do that is going to make a big difference in your business. Okay, now this takes a bit of practice, all right? And like I said, you can download the PDF so you can print this out, stick it on your office wall, put it in your laptop. But just keep doing this every week and it will get easier. You'll get laser focused on, actually, that's not worth my time. That's the kind of thing I need to go and outsource to a VA. This is worth my time. So creating the podcast, only I can create this podcast. I can't get my lovely assistant to just go and do an episode for me. So this podcast is a good use of my time. Creating content is a great use of your time because no one knows your subject matter like you. No one knows your business like you. Doesn't mean you have to spend ages scheduling it on social media. That is something a VA can do. Okay, so you will get better and better, and there'll be episodes in the future about what tasks are really going to make a difference in your business. But for now, for this episode, prioritize and just keep doing this weekly. Okay, because at the end of the first week, you may look back and go, wow, I didn't actually achieve the things I said I wanted to do. And that's where the awareness piece comes. Okay, you'll get far more aware of your performance in your business when you follow this process every single week. Again, that's probably for another episode. I will go into all of this. I want to keep these episodes nice and short and succinct, so they're actionable for you. But maybe next week's episode will be a little bit more about that and how you become really aware of your performance. So first step, brain dump. Step 2, segment. Step 3, prioritize. Step 4 is schedule. My darling, do not come up with a list of 4 or 5 things that you say you're going to do in your business and then look at your diary and realize you have no time in your diary. If you have got stacked out clients back to back and you only have 3 hours next week that you have available, prioritize the one thing and get it done. Okay? Because this is what's so important. If you don't schedule these tasks to be done, they won't get done. So look at your diary, look at your calendar. And this is where, going back to the story I think I shared earlier, when I first started my business years and years ago, my wedding business, I would work from 9 o'clock at night until 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's 4 hours. Now, being the person I am now and knowing what I know now, 4 hours is ages. Like, that's pretty much my peak amount of time that I work any day. I can achieve huge amounts in 4 hours. Back then, I achieved diddly squat in 4 hours. My business suffered terribly. I suffered terribly because I didn't schedule and prioritize what I was going to work on. I didn't know this system. I didn't know what I know now. So I had 4 hours back then and I achieved very little because I didn't have that focus. I didn't schedule in exactly what I was going to be working on. So what I want to share with you is, doesn't matter if you've only got 2 hours in your week next week. Maybe you work a full-time job and you're starting a business on the side. I get that your time is limited, but time is not going to create a magic answer. Focus will. So in whatever time you have next week, schedule in the priority tasks and get them done. All right? And that's step 5. You got to take action. You have got to be bigger than your excuses. And I know I feel like I'm being really tough, like telling you what to do down the microphone today, but oh my gosh, I'm having so many conversations with people. It's just this time of year. I get a lot of coaching inquiries around this time of year because people are looking ahead to 2020. It's just normal. And so many people are struggling. And truly, it's because they're allowing their excuses to be bigger than them. And I have been there. I have done the ridiculous hours. Like I said, I used to work from 9 o'clock at night until maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd be back up again at 5:30 to look after my kids and then be wife and cook dinner and clean the house and all that stuff. I did not want to go to work at 9 o'clock. Well, I kind of did because it was my passion project. But had I known this, had I known what I'm sharing with you today about focusing on the priority and actually having a plan, using this 5-step planning process, I would have used those 4 hours in such a better way. I would have grown my business much quicker, much, much quicker. And actually, now that I have this and I use this every single week, I know what I need to take action on. All right. So once you get used to doing this, please don't do it once and go, oh my gosh, I didn't do my priority tasks. I'm a failure, blah, 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 blah. Because that's just going into a whole other level of beliefs. Do this weekly and consistently, and reach out to me. I'm on Instagram at Heather Angel Coaching. Reach out to me. I am always happy to help on the DMs, or you can comment, just reach out to me. I am more than happy to help you. If you try this for a few weeks and you're like, oh, I'm struggling with this, or how am I managing with the priority, the priority bit, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. I don't want you being stuck. I don't want you spending the little time that you might have working on things that do not matter. Okay? But I will only help people if you're willing to help yourself. If you're willing to be bigger than those excuses. Okay? Oh, I'm being a tough coach today. I don't mean to be. But I don't want to see you struggle. I don't want to see anyone else struggle and suffer, because I've been there. It's horrible and it's just not necessary. Just not necessary. So that is how you can become laser focused and start working on what matters. Use that 5-step process. And remember, just catch yourself. I think I'll definitely do a podcast episode on self-awareness. Be really aware when you find yourself saying, oh, if I had more time, I would be able to ... Okay. Sometimes I don't have that much time. The whole of last week, I was pretty much off ill most of the time. The podcast was pretty much the only big rock that I managed to achieve. That and planning out my live event. That's it. It was a real struggle. But I didn't allow myself to fall into the belief of, oh no, I'm, doing inverted commas here, overwhelmed. I've got too much to do, blah, blah, blah. I sat down on Sunday, yesterday, and did my 5-step process I've just explained to you and that you can download in the show notes. And I looked at my week ahead and went, okay, it's fine. The big rocks go back in. I might need to juggle a few things around. That's absolutely fine, because I know what I need to work on. And once you have that sense of clarity and confidence in knowing what is actually going to move your business forward, oh my gosh, it's a game changer. Absolute game changer. So that's your episode today, my beautiful one. Download the PDF so you've got those 5 steps. Reach out to me on Instagram. I am always happy to help you. If you have any questions on these podcast episodes, let me know. And yeah, just have the most amazing week. And until the next episode, I will see you really soon. Take care, lovely. Bye.